To save Julian, I was hit by a car and ended up in the ICU, barely waking up, with red-rimmed eyes. He swore he would give me a home, but on the eve of our engagement, his little sister from college threw a tantrum. He hastily cancelled the engagement party and took a private jet to chase her to a remote island overnight. The only message he left me was, "A young girl isn't safe out there alone. It's just an engagement. We can do it anytime." At a gathering, I overheard a friend trying to reason with him. "Remember the car crash? Clara almost died saving you. You shouldn't take things too far." The man stubbed out his cigarette, his expression cold. "It wasn't really saving me. She had severe depression back then and was looking for a way out anyway. Besides, she's an orphan. Where else could she go without the Vance family?" I clutched my phone, saying nothing. What Julian didn't know was that I had already agreed to my brother's proposal to return to Hong Kong for an arranged marriage. I would be leaving tomorrow. After this, we would be worlds apart, never to meet again. The night before my engagement to Julian, his college junior, Isabel threw another fit. The girl grabbed her bag and left on a whim. All she posted on her social media was a photo of her boarding pass. Some stupid man made me angry again. He won't find me so easily this time. Unfortunately, she forgot to turn off her live photo feature. The airline announcement in the background, detailing the flight information, was perfectly clear. Julian was frantic. He cancelled our engagement party and boarded his private jet that very night. It was only after he landed on the same small island as Isabel that he remembered he hadn't given me, his fiancée, any explanation. He gave me a call, even from thousands of miles away. I could hear the carelessness in his voice. "Clara, the engagement is postponed for a while." I remained silent. His voice hardened, laced with the usual arrogance of someone in a position of power. "A young girl isn't safe out there alone. I have to coax her back. Don't be difficult. You've always been the understanding one." I gripped my hand so tightly my knuckles turned white, but when I spoke, my voice was devoid of any emotion. "Julian," I said, using his full name for a change, "this is the third time. Our engagement. Let's cancel it." A flirtatious female voice suddenly cut me off through the receiver. "Julian, can you help me with my strap? Be good, just listen," Julian said, pausing for a moment. "It's just an engagement. I'll make it up to you some other day." The call was abruptly ended. Outside, the moonlight was like water. It flowed past the window frame, spreading a cold, sea-like glow across my desk. I picked up my phone and replied to a message from 3 days ago. "Brother, I'm ready to come to Hong Kong." That night, I slept fitfully. In my dreams, time rewound, and Julian was once again the little boy who followed me everywhere. He'd stand on his tiptoes to wipe the sweat from my brow, saying in his childish voice, "Don't be hot, Clara, I'll fan you." By the swing set in my family's garden, I would swing my legs and eat candy while Julian squatted beside me, watching with eager eyes. The adults would laugh and tease him. "You like Clara so much. How about she becomes your wife when you grow up?" The little boy's ears would turn bright red, but he'd summon his courage and grab my hand. "It's a promise. When we're older, Clara has to be my bride." The setting sun cast a golden edge on his eyelashes. My tiny reflection was centered in his pupils, like a treasure being carefully held. Later, my parents divorced. My mother and I stayed, while my father took my brother to Hong Kong. In high school, my mother went abroad for a business trip. Her return flight crashed into the Pacific Ocean, leaving not even a scrap of clothing behind. After the funeral, my father wanted to take me back to Hong Kong with him, but the trauma had plunged me into severe depression, and I refused to leave our old family home, hiding myself away. The greatest power of death isn't that it can make people die, but that it makes those left behind lose the will to live. During that time, I suffered from insomnia night after night. Whenever I closed my eyes, I would see my mother's body dissolving into thin air, first her fingers, then her face, until even the sound of her calling my name scattered into the wind. At my lowest point, I climbed to the rooftop of an abandoned building, ready to jump. It was Julian who lunged forward and held me tight. He told me I was just sick. He accompanied me to a psychologist. He took me to try anything that might spark my interest, and during every night I woke from a nightmare, he would patiently tell me childish fairy tales. He was like the only signpost in my chaotic world, preventing me from getting completely lost in the darkness. So that day, when the out-of-control truck came hurtling towards us, I pushed him away without a second thought. I spent half a month in the ICU. Both my legs were shattered, and I almost never woke up. It took a year of physical therapy before I could walk normally again. After my final high school exams, Julian set off a whole night of fireworks for me, with red rimmed eyes. He slid a ring onto my middle finger. He said, "Clara, when you graduate from college, we'll get officially engaged." But now, he had so easily broken that promise for someone else. The vibration of my phone pulled me from my thoughts. It was a message from Isabel. "Clara, I honestly didn't know today was your engagement party. Julian is being ridiculous. How could he treat a girl like this? I've already given him a piece of my mind. How about we bring you back a gift to apologize?" I found it almost laughable. My fiancé needed another woman to lecture him. My fingers slid across the screen. "A gift won't be necessary. You can consider the money saved as my early wedding gift to you and Julian." Message sent. User blocked. Isabel was in the same year as me. She was the renowned beauty of the dance department, with skin like snow and lips like rubies. Her every glance was captivating, yet her personality was fiery and fierce, like a wild rose, beautiful but thorny. A single dance at the school festival had captured the heart of Julian, who had originally come to see my piano performance. Julian doted on her, and everyone knew it, including this time. This was the third time he had broken a promise to me for Isabel. The first time was my birthday. Isabel had a dance competition that day. As I made a wish alone over the burnt-out candles, her social media updated. "Even though I didn't win, a certain someone said I'll always be number one in his heart." The accompanying photo showed a familiar profile. A man's long, slender fingers were gently placing a crystal tiara on her head. The aquamarine at its peak was dazzling. It was the birthday gift Julian had once promised me. The second time was the anniversary of my mother's death. Isabel sprained her ankle during dance practice. Julian was beside himself with worry. "Bella is a dancer. Her leg can't be injured." He ran a series of red lights, carrying her to the best orthopedic hospital. He left me standing alone before the grave, drenched by a sudden downpour. The cold rain mixed with the warmth of my tears, dripping together onto the cold marble tombstone. The third time, Julian cancelled our engagement party to appease her. 18 years of being childhood sweethearts. He was certain I would always be there, waiting. But this time, it was my turn to break a promise. I scrolled up. It was a reply from my brother. "Really, Clara, you've finally come around. I never liked that Julian kid anyway. How about you consider the Chow family in Hong Kong? The guy's really great. Big Brother's personal pick. Quality guaranteed." Ever since Julian first missed my birthday, my brother had held a grudge against him. Whenever we chatted, he would subtly bring up some promising young man from a good family in Hong Kong. I knew he and my father wanted me to return for an arranged marriage. In the past, I would always laugh and change the subject. But now, I paused, and replied, "Okay." Julian and Isabel spent half a month on the island. The day they returned, he posted pointedly on his social media a 9-photo grid, each one an intimate shot of him and Isabel, the two of them in swimsuits, surfing at the beach, watching the city lights from the top of the Ferris wheel, dancing in each other's arms at a bonfire party. No photo explicitly crossed the line, yet every one of them exuded a playful, ambiguous intimacy. Someone teased him in the comments, "Is the great Julian Vance about to switch fiancés?" He replied nonchalantly, "The girl is hard to please." Insisted on a memento to be happy. A special ringtone suddenly went off. After half a month, Julian was finally calling me. His voice carried a condescending gentleness. "My birthday party is tonight. Should I come pick you up?" I was momentarily dazed, then realized it was Julian's birthday. In the past, I would have prepared his gift long in advance, just waiting to give it to him at the party. "That won't be necessary," I said softly. "I'm very busy. I can't make it." I wasn't lying. In the half-month he was gone, I had been incredibly busy applying for my visa, packing my things, and saying goodbye to my friends. Tonight happened to be the farewell dinner I had arranged with my closest friends. His breathing on the other end of the line grew heavy. "Clara, do you have to be so difficult? Isabel was all alone on that island. How dangerous was that? And you're still holding this against me. She was even thinking about what gift to bring back for you. If you keep this up, our engagement won't be postponed, it'll be cancelled." "Julian," I interrupted him gently, "I bought a ticket to Hong Kong. I'm leaving tomorrow. The engagement is off." "Clara, there's a limit to your tantrums." Julian let out a cold laugh. "Ever since your mother passed away, you can't even go near an airport. What's this nonsense about taking a plane?" I took a deep breath. After my mother died in the plane crash, I developed severe PTSD. I couldn't fly, couldn't go near an airport, and even the sound of flight announcements would make me tremble. Because of this, Julian was convinced I was just playing hard to get. But he didn't know that while he was happily traveling the world with Isabel because he found my travel restrictions troublesome, I was undergoing desensitization therapy on my psychologist's advice. During that time, I bought a plane ticket every single day. I started by just sitting in the terminal, listening to the roar of planes taking off and landing. Eventually, I was able to take short-haul flights. Now, I was no longer afraid of the sky miles above. All right. Before hanging up, Julian gave a final, impatient ultimatum. Get here yourself, don't make me wait. I went back to the apartment one last time. Julian had given it to me as a gift on my 18th birthday. That day, he had covered my eyes and led me into the empty living room. His voice held a rare nervousness. Clara, I will give you a home. Over the years, I had filled every corner of this place with my own hands. I called a moving company. I had everything that belonged to me moved back to my family's old house. On the coffee table was a photo of Julian and me from long ago, beneath a sky of fireworks. A young boy and girl smiled with bright, shy faces. My fingers paused for a moment. I took off my ring and placed it in front of the photo. The sound of the door closing echoed behind me. I walked out and didn't look back. By nature, I don't have many friends. My farewell dinner was just with my 3 college roommates. They knew that after this, I would be flying to Hong Kong, perhaps never to return. Glasses clinked. I raised mine and drained it in one gulp. As the alcohol burned my throat, I suddenly remembered my first day of college, when Julian had raised his glass and said to me, Clara, I will always be with you. I never would have thought then that one day I would be heading to Hong Kong alone, without even a proper goodbye between us. After we parted, I went to the restroom. As I passed a private room, I suddenly heard someone say my name. Julian, Clara still isn't here. You don't think she's actually mad at you, do you? The room fell silent for a moment. Then, a familiar male voice spoke up. I dare her. The door was ajar. Julian was lounging on a leather sofa, the red tip of his cigarette glowing and fading. The room erupted in laughter. Exactly. Julian really knows how to train them. He was spoiling that college girl rotten not long ago. And Clara didn't say a word. Clara is the cool, distant type, and Isabel is the fiery one. He's got the white rose and the red rose. Julian truly is winning at life. Julian, a mutual friend tried to offer some advice. Clara almost died saving you back then. You shouldn't take things too far. Julian stubbed out his cigarette, his expression cold. It wasn't really saving me. She had severe depression back then and was suicidal anyway. Besides, she's an orphan. Where else could she go without the Vance family? His words hit me like a sudden clap of thunder, echoing in my mind and leaving me defenseless. For 3 years in high school, my severe depression made me an outcast, a weirdo in my classmates' eyes. It was Julian who had gradually helped me walk out of the haze in my mind. He would never know the thought that flashed through my mind in the moment before the crash, as I pushed him away. It was never that I wanted to die. It was that I was willing to die for you. I had seen him as my salvation, the one who led me out of the abyss. I never imagined that one day, my pain would become cheap fodder for his conversations. The taste of blood filled my mouth. I stood frozen, my entire body trembling. My phone vibrated. A message from my brother. Sorry, Clara, I really can't get away tomorrow, but I've asked that kid from the Chow family to pick you up. See you in Hong Kong. I wiped the dampness from the corner of my eye and smiled. See you in Hong Kong. Night fell, but the private room was still a blur of dazzling lights and heavy with the scent of alcohol. Julian tilted his head back, downing a glass of strong liquor. His Adam's apple bobbed, and his brow was furrowed tightly. Clara hadn't arrived yet. In previous years, she would always send a message right at the stroke of midnight. She had said she wanted to be the first person to wish him a happy birthday. At his party, she would always have a carefully chosen gift ready for him. But now, he had stared at his phone all night, and their chat window remained silent. He knew she was throwing a tantrum over Isabel. That's why he had deigned to make that call, to give her a way to back down gracefully. He never expected that the usually gentle Clara would dare to mention breaking off the engagement and even talk about going to Hong Kong. Julian sneered, his fingers unconsciously stroking the rim of his glass. She couldn't even enter an airport. How was she going to get on a plane? It was just a game, playing hard to get. Clara couldn't leave him. She never could, he was sure of it. He deliberately ignored the flicker of unease deep within him. Time ticked by. Clara still hadn't appeared. Julian's expression grew darker, his knuckles tapping impatiently on the table. The temperature in the room seemed to drop with each tap. Suddenly, the crisp sound of high heels clicking on the floor came from outside the door. The sound grew closer. The tense atmosphere instantly eased. That must be Clara, right? Someone said, trying to smooth things over with a laugh. What did I tell you? She could never really stay mad at Julian. She's so late. She's just taking advantage of how much Julian spoils her. Laughter filled the room. Julian tugged at his tie and let out a soft scoff. Looks like I've spoiled her a little too much. His face was cold, but his tone held a sliver of unconcealable pleasure. He seemed to have already accepted that the person outside was Clara, but he had forgotten. After that car accident, Clara's legs were shattered. It took a year of physical therapy for her to even walk. The doctor had said she would never be able to wear high heels again. The door opened. Isabel, teetering on 4-inch stilettos, threw herself into his arms. Happy birthday, Julian. What are you doing here? Julian frowned at her. Isabel's smile froze for a second before she pressed against him again, her voice soft. Who else would it be? Like a magic trick, she produced a box from behind her back. Look, I had a custom pair of matching rings made. The box lid sprang open. Isabel eagerly grabbed his hand. Come on, try it on. Her long nails scraped across the back of his hand as she tried to pull off the ring on his middle finger. Julian snapped back to his senses. He shoved Isabel away, his tone harsh. Who told you to touch my ring? Julian. Isabel fell back onto the sofa, looking at him with tears welling in her eyes. She was wearing exquisite makeup and a fiery red velvet dress. She was stunningly, brazenly beautiful, completely different from Clara's cool, quiet elegance. It was that brazen confidence on stage that had first attracted him. But now, the red rose seemed to have lost its charm. Julian pinched the bridge of his nose, feeling irritated. Isabel, your gift is lovely, but don't do this again. You know my fiancé will only ever be Clara. I can give you anything else, but not that. Isabel bit her lip, unwilling to give up. But I just ran into Clara's roommates. They said she's going to Hong Kong and might never come back. Julian, she's the one who abandoned you. Can't we be together? The usually proud and bright beauty was showing a rare moment of vulnerability, but it didn't move Julian in the slightest. He looked at Isabel, annoyed. Don't say things like that. Clara would never go to Hong Kong. Julian took a cigarette from the case and lit it. He and Clara had known each other their whole lives. He knew how much she loved him so much that even after he'd repeatedly stood her up for Isabel, she could never bring herself to leave him. He figured that because he'd spent half a month on the island with Isabel and hadn't contacted her, the normally good-tempered Clara had finally gotten truly angry, hence why she was skipping his birthday party. Through the swirling smoke, Julian let out a small laugh. Fine, he would just have to coax her a little more. He took out his phone. He dialed the number he knew by heart, but all he heard was a cold, mechanical voice. We're sorry, the number you have dialed is no longer in service. Although half a year of desensitization therapy had greatly improved my PTSD, my heart still pounded with a bit of panic every time I waited for takeoff. Excuse me, a deep male voice sounded beside me. I looked up to see a man in a white shirt standing in the aisle. His features behind the gold-rimmed glasses were as refined as a painting. His gaze rested on my face, as if holding some deeper meaning. Clara, the man said my name correctly, his intonation rising slightly at the end, as if confirming an answer he already knew. And you are? I looked at him, confused. I couldn't recall ever seeing this man before. At my question, he curled his lip into a slight smile. We haven't met. My surname is Chow, Adrian Chow, the Chow family from Hong Kong, here to pick me up. It dawned on me, he must be the great guy my brother had mentioned as a potential marriage partner. Was I supposed to say my brother had excellent taste, sending him to pick me up? He was picking me up right from takeoff. Adrian took the seat beside me. He was very tall. His long legs, clad in tailored trousers, stretched out casually, filling the space in front of him. I couldn't help but feel a little nervous, my hand subconsciously picking at the edge of my seatbelt. Is this your first time in Hong Kong, Miss Shelton? He suddenly spoke, his voice very gentle. Sunlight streamed through the cabin window, dispelling the silent, awkward atmosphere. A wave of relief washed over me. I nodded lightly. Then, Miss Shelton. Adrian looked at me, a warm light in his eyes. Do you need a guide? If Adrian were actually a tour guide, he would probably make a fortune. I couldn't help but think. He told me about the night view of Victoria Harbour, the sunset from Victoria Peak, the old tea stalls in Sham Shui Pa, and the seafood on Lama Island. His voice was deep and soothing, with a natural storytelling quality. I was completely engrossed. Suddenly, the plane began to shake violently, like a paper kite caught in a storm. The captain's calm voice came over the intercom, but all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. The air seemed to be sucked out of the cabin. I gripped the armrests, my nails digging into my palms. My mother's image seemed to appear before my eyes again. My breathing became rapid, and my vision started to go dark. Exhale. Adrian moved with startling speed. He tore open an air sickness bag and placed it over my mouth and nose, while his other hand firmly pressed against my trembling back. Follow me. Inhale. His steady voice was like a tranquilizer. I followed his rhythm and slowly calmed down. Only after the plane had passed through the turbulence and stabilized did Adrian remove the bag. He asked the flight attendant for a glass of water. Seeing that my fingers were still trembling, he held my hand and helped me take a sip. The warm water washed away the lingering fear. Thinking about what had just happened, I felt a delayed sense of embarrassment. Thank you. I'm sorry. I overreacted. Did I scare you? As long as you're okay, Miss Shelton. Adrian took the glass and raised an eyebrow at me, ensuring a traveler's well-being at all times is a necessary skill for a qualified guide. So, is Miss Shelton willing to hire me? Pfft. I couldn't help but chuckle. You can call me Clara. Then I'll be in your care for the rest of the trip. Guide Adrian. The plane broke through the clouds, and a rainbow suddenly appeared outside the window. Adrian turned to look at me, a gentle smile on his face. Look, Clara, Hong Kong is welcoming you. I followed Adrian into the parking garage. A discreet black Bentley was parked at the entrance. The driver opened the door and, upon seeing me get in as well, had a flash of surprise on his face. To the Shelton residence, Adrian said calmly. The car drove smoothly, and a faint sandalwood scent lingered in the air, creating a sense of peace. I leaned back in my seat, a wave of drowsiness washing over me. When I woke up, Adrian was on a business call. The man kept his voice low, but the authority in his tone was unmistakable. The natural air of a leader he exuded was palpable. I didn't make a sound, just quietly observed his well-defined profile. I couldn't help but think that God was sometimes truly unfair. What is it, Clara? Adrian's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Nothing, I answered instinctively, but then, remembering what my brother had said about an arranged marriage, I added on a whim, you're very charismatic when you're working. Ahem. The man who had been so composed moments ago suddenly flushed, his Adam's apple bobbing unnaturally. Thank you. Before getting out of the car, Adrian and I exchanged contact information. See you tomorrow, I said, shaking my phone with a smile. After watching the car drive away, I was about to call my brother for the gate code when my phone rang. Clara, are you out of the gate yet? How come that Justin Chow kid hasn't found you? I was confused. I'm already at the front door. Also, who's Justin? My brother was silent for a moment. Justin is the person I told you was picking you up. I've been so swamped with work I completely forgot to tell you his name. I froze, then asked cautiously, are you sure? He doesn't have another name, like Adrian. A sharp, explosive sound erupted from the other end of the line. Adrian, how do you know the head of the main Chow family? 20 minutes later, my brother rushed home from his office, looking flustered. I was sitting obediently on the sofa. The villa was filled with all sorts of landscape photographs, clearly the work of my father. He was a photographer who spent most of his time traveling for shoots. Right now, he was probably somewhere in Africa, photographing wildlife. It wasn't that he didn't love us, but he loved his dream more. Clara, are you okay? My brother gripped my shoulders anxiously, looking like he wanted to inspect me from head to toe. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault for forgetting to tell you his name, which made you get into the wrong car. His voice trembled. I'm just so glad you're okay. Otherwise, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. I'm fine. I gently took his trembling wrist. It was my fault for not asking. My brother took a moment to compose himself, then asked strangely, but still, how did you end up meeting Adrian Chow? I felt a pang of guilt. He happened to be sitting next to me on the plane, and I thought he was the marriage partner you told me about. I hadn't expected such a mix-up. Clara, his expression turned serious. Adrian Chow is not someone to be taken lightly. He's the true head of the Chow family. Everyone in our circle says he's cold, arrogant, and has no interest in women. Cold and arrogant. Remembering Adrian's reddened ears earlier, I felt a little confused. Anyway, my brother interrupted my thoughts sternly. Try to stay away from him. But, I meekly held up my phone. I already promised to go see the Victoria Harbour night view with him tomorrow. After a lengthy safety lecture from my brother, I collapsed onto my bed and let out an exhausted sigh. I opened my phone and logged into my messenger app. A flood of messages from Julian poured in. Clara, where the hell are you? Are you ignoring my calls on purpose? You skipped my birthday party, and now you've even cleared out the apartment. What's the meaning of leaving the ring behind? Before I could even process all the messages, a video call request popped up. My finger paused, then I accepted the call. Julian's furious voice exploded in my bedroom. Clara, did you block me? Before leaving, I had cancelled my old number and gotten a new one for Hong Kong. He had, however, reminded me to block his social media account as well. On the other end, Julian was still ranting. So I didn't contact you for half a month. Since when did you become so petty? I told you there's nothing between me and Isabel, and the engagement was just postponed, not cancelled. Do you even want to be with me anymore, Julian? I interrupted him gently. I already told you, the engagement is off, and we won't be seeing each other again. A light rain began to fall outside the window. Without waiting for his reply, I hung up. I tapped on his profile picture and blocked him. Before I knew it, I had been living in Hong Kong for over a month. As the owner of a startup, my brother was very busy. Most of the time, it was Adrian who kept me company. I had thought things might be awkward between us after the initial mix-up, but that wasn't the case at all. Adrian was a man of great tact. He spoke flawlessly and made an excellent impression on me. Because of my experience with physical therapy in high school, I chose to study engineering in college. In my third year, I had planned to apply for a master's program and pursue a career in the medical device industry, but Julian disagreed. He said the Vance family didn't need a daughter-in-law who spent her days tinkering with machine parts. Why not just stay at home, drink tea, arrange flowers, and be a pampered, wealthy wife? I couldn't refuse him, so I gave up on my dream. Adrian was different. When he learned about my abandoned plans, he encouraged me. If it's what you want to do, why not give it a try? His gentle words unexpectedly strengthened my resolve. So I actually began preparing my application materials for a master's program at the University of Hong Kong. Adrian gathered a huge pile of specialized books for me and introduced me to renowned professors in the field. After one dinner meeting, he and I took a stroll along Queen's Road. The neon lights flickered, and the bustling street was full of people, but my eyes were only on the tall figure beside me. Adrian, I called out to him. The man turned his head slightly, his gaze warm and focused. My heart inexplicably started to race. Thank you. A warmth spread across my cheeks. I quickly looked away, not daring to meet his eyes again. The man let out a soft laugh. The sandalwood scent drew closer. I heard your brother originally wanted to set you up with my cousin, Justin. Have you considered a more suitable marriage partner? For example, me. I was still in a daze by the time I got home. Adrian's words echoed in my ears. Clara, what I said just now was serious. I like you, and I hope you can give me a chance. Since I had agreed to my brother's proposal for an arranged marriage, I was mentally prepared. Objectively speaking, Adrian was an excellent marriage partner. He came from a prominent family and was exceptionally capable. Most importantly, he was always guiding me to become a better version of myself. And because of that, I didn't want to waste his sincere feelings. After much hesitation, I decided to be honest with him about my past with Julian. I can promise you that I have moved on from that relationship, but if you still mind, I lowered my head and said softly, it's okay. A warm hand gently rested on top of my head. His palm was dry and warm, carrying a reassuring strength. Clara, it's not wrong to love someone. He bent down to meet my gaze, his eyes gentle yet firm. To be able to love bravely, but also know when to let go. A person like you is even more captivating to me. A lump formed in my throat. Adrian smiled and extended his hand to me. In that case, let's reintroduce ourselves. My fiancé. When my brother learned that Adrian and I were together, his expression was complicated. All he said was, as long as you're happy, Clara, your brother will always be here for you. But from that day on, he started spending more and more time at his office. Once a date was set, Adrian took me to meet his parents. The elderly couple gave me several welcoming gifts. Among them, the most precious was a jadeite bangle. It was of the highest quality, passed down only to the matriarchs of the family. I was still hesitating when Adrian took my hand and gently but firmly slipped it onto my wrist. Clara, it will only ever belong to you. The wedding date was set for 6 months later. Because we wanted to be considerate of my future studies, the wedding wasn't a grand, widely publicized affair. People in our circle only knew that the head of the Chow family was getting married, but they didn't know which prominent family his fiancée was from. That evening, Adrian, who never posted on social media, suddenly shared a photo. In the picture, 2 hands were intertwined, and a stunning pink diamond ring sparkled on one of the middle fingers. The caption read, "Mine," inspired by him. I posted something as well, using the same picture. My college classmates flooded the comments with well wishes. Are you engaged? Congratulations. The background looks like Hong Kong. You have to meet up when you come back. Sigh. My goddess is getting married, and I'm still single. I smiled as I replied to each one. Suddenly, A mutual friend of Julian's and mine called me. Clara, are you really engaged? Then, what about Julian? My smile faded. I replied, things between Julian and me ended a long time ago. I've started a new life. And I hope you won't bring him up in front of me again. There was a sudden commotion on the other end of the line, followed by Julian's drunken, angry roar. How dare you, Clara, running off to Hong Kong by yourself and finding another man just to spite me. Fine. I admit your little trick worked. Now hurry back, or the position of Mrs. Vance might really go to someone else. I took a deep breath, trying to control the surge of emotions. How many times do I have to say it? It's over between us. Stop bothering me. Your life. You're my fiancé. Where could you possibly go to have a life without me? I'm warning you. Get back to Seaside City within a week. Or else. Click. I couldn't take it anymore and hung up the phone. On the other side, the private room was deathly silent. Julian stared at his phone screen where the call had been disconnected. His usually charming eyes were now bloodshot, hiding a barely perceptible trace of panic and hurt. 3 days later, I returned to Seaside City. I hadn't expected to continue my studies in Hong Kong, so some of my documents were still here. Coincidentally, Adrian had a business deal to discuss at his company's Seaside City branch, so he came back with me. Unlike the turbulent flight on the way there, the return trip was smooth. Adrian held my hand as we walked through the VIP terminal, not wanting to run into Julian. We stayed at a hotel this time. The next morning, Adrian went to his office. I went back to my old house to collect my documents and then returned to the hotel. Our flight back was scheduled for the day after tomorrow. The business dinner tomorrow night required a female companion. Adrian arranged for a room full of gowns to be delivered to me, along with matching shoes and jewelry. I chose a long purple dress. The last time I saw my mother, she was wearing purple. From that day on, that color had never appeared in my wardrobe again. The wounds of the past had healed. I was walking towards my own future. After getting dressed and styled, Adrian sent me a message. The driver is here to pick you up. I'll be waiting for you in the hall. I never expected to run into Julian in the hotel lobby. He was wearing a suit, with Isabel clinging intimately to his arm. The moment our eyes met, Julian violently shook off Isabel's hand and strode towards me. The expression on his face was indescribably complex, a mixture of surprise, elation, and a hard, place sense of shame and anger. I knew you'd come. He raised an eyebrow at me, his eyes full of smugness. You look beautiful today. Come on, I'll take you upstairs. I didn't move. I stood my ground and sent a quick text message. Julian pursed his lips and reached for my hand. I took a step back, avoiding his touch. His face immediately darkened. What's wrong with you, Clara? What is this? You're already back, so why are you still throwing a fit? Clara, are you angry with me? Isabel had walked over at some point. Don't misunderstand. There's really nothing going on between Julian and me. A look of understanding flashed in Julian's eyes. Clara, your jealousy is getting out of hand. If you hadn't secretly run off to Hong Kong, why would I have asked Isabel to be my date? Alright, fine. I'll just stop seeing her from now on. Okay. After he finished speaking, ignoring Isabel's ugly expression, he forcefully tried to grab my hand. The emotions I had been suppressing finally erupted. I couldn't hold back any longer and slapped him hard across the face. I said, word by word, can't you understand plain English? Stop bothering me. Ding. The elevator doors opened. Adrian walked out calmly, followed by several other people. Julian's father, the current head of the Vance family, was among them. Mr. Vance's eyes swept over the scene, seemingly understanding the situation. He shot me a displeased look. He then walked forward with a forced smile. My apologies, Mr. Chow. This is just my son's family matter. We'll handle it right away. Then, he shot Julian a pointed look. Hurry up and take Clara home. Wait, Adrian said suddenly. He walked to my side, his long fingers gently adjusting a hairpin that had come loose. Where, exactly, does Mr. Vance plan on taking my fiancé? The lobby fell into a dead silence. Julian lifted his face, a red mark blooming on his cheek, and stared at me in disbelief. What are you talking about? Clara, she's my fiancé. Julian was agitated and wanted to say more, but he was silenced by his father's grim stare. I won't disturb you while you handle your family affairs, Mr. Vance. Adrian took my hand and led me into the elevator. By the way, all cooperation with the Vance family. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, he spoke again. Let's wait until Mr. Vance has settled his family matters before we discuss it. Inside the enclosed elevator, the sandalwood scent was even stronger. Does it hurt? He asked, referring to the hand I had used to slap Julian. I shook my head gently, feeling a bit embarrassed. Did I cause trouble for you just now? Will it affect your work? Adrian squeezed my fingers. You're my fiancé. No work is more important than you. Besides, Julian bullied you like that. He deserved a lesson. I suddenly understood. This was the real reason he had accompanied me to Seaside City. The rest of the banquet went smoothly. Adrian had already finalized the deal with another company. Before returning to Hong Kong, we visited the cemetery together. The man stood before the gravestone, his tone solemn. Ma'am, I will take good care of Clara. She is exceptional. She will continue her graduate studies. She will work on cutting-edge medical device research, and she might even pull some all-nighters at work. Adrian paused and looked at me with a smile. But you don't have to worry. I will be the clouds that lift her up, and I will never block her light as she chases the sun. A gentle breeze brushed through my hair, like my mother's soft touch. 6 months flew by. The day before the wedding, Adrian and I went back to my old family home. He went into the study to get something. I followed him, curiously looking around the room. On the desk was a picture frame. In the photo, Adrian had a shaved head and was wearing an oversized hospital gown. His face was pale, but his eyes were filled with determination. This person, I pointed to a figure blurred in the background of the photo, stunned. Is that me? That's right. Adrian came up behind me, resting his hands on the desk and enclosing me in his arms. I once had a brain tumor. The neurosurgery department at Seaside City Hospital is top-notch, so my family brought me there for the operation. Seaside City Hospital. It hit me. That was the same hospital where I received treatment after my accident. I can't believe we met so long ago. I couldn't help but marvel. It's just a shame we didn't know each other back then. But I knew you. Adrian smiled, pointing to a spot in the photo. This was my hospital room. From my window, I had a perfect view of your physical therapy room. At 18, Adrian had just been accepted into a prestigious university. He was at the peak of his youth, a true golden boy, but he was forced to be confined to a small hospital room. Chemotherapy was agonizing, and the surgery only had a 60% success rate. He almost gave up several times, until one day, he saw a young girl through his window. The girl looked quiet and gentle, but she had a strong will. Through that single pane of glass, he watched her fall and get back up. Time and time again, he watched her go from being unable to stand steadily to walking normally. She unknowingly kept him company through every day of torment. Before his surgery, Adrian found out her name. Clara, if I make it out of this operating room alive, can I get to know you? Later, he was finally discharged, only to see the girl joyfully leap into another man's arms. But it was okay. Time, after all its twists and turns, had finally brought her to his side. A soft kiss landed by my ear, and Adrian's voice was laced with a smile. So, Clara, I knew who you were long before you ever knew me. I thought I would be nervous on my wedding day, but my racing heart became incredibly calm the moment I saw the man waiting for me. My father took my hand and walked me, step by step, towards Adrian. The audience was filled with the smiling, blessed faces of our friends and family. Under the guidance of the officiant, we kissed, embraced, and made our eternal vows to each other. After the ceremony, I took Adrian's arm to go change. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar figure being surrounded and held back by security. His face was ashen, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw me. Clara, will you come with me? I love you. I've always loved you. I'll never hurt you again. Please, forgive me. I'm begging you. I said nothing, merely turning my gaze away. Amidst Julian's desperate cries, I turned and walked away. A long time passed, and I heard no news of Julian, until one day, his mother suddenly called me. The usually formidable woman's voice was uncharacteristically choked with tears. Clara, Julian was in a car accident. The doctors say he'll never be able to walk again. Could you come and see him? I was momentarily stunned. His mother's voice continued. She said that ever since Adrian had cut off all business with the Vance family, Julian had been forbidden by his family from contacting me. On my wedding day, he had snuck out to come find me. After being forcibly sent back to Seaside City, he began drinking heavily every day. One drunken night, he ended up in bed with Isabel. He didn't want to take responsibility, but Isabel had secretly taken photos and forced him to marry her. After they were married, Julian was never home. Isabel couldn't handle his cold neglect and would start fights at every opportunity. On their way home one day, they got into another argument. In the midst of their pushing and shoving, they failed to notice the traffic light had turned red. This time, I wasn't there to push him out of the way. Julian was severely injured and would have to spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Isabel's injuries were less severe, but she would never be able to dance again. I know Julian let you down, Clara, but you two grew up together, after all these years. Could you please? But Mrs. Vance, I cut her off. When you said an orphan like me wasn't good enough for the Vance family, you didn't seem to care about our shared childhood. Besides, whatever bond we had was worn away long ago. Just as I hung up, Adrian walked in. He was holding a manila envelope. I took it. Inside was a graduate school acceptance letter from the University of Hong Kong. Congratulations, Clara, he said, smiling at me. I let out a cheer and jumped into his arms. The road ahead was long, and I was ready to journey through the mountains and seas with the man by my side.